Anxiety, a mental illness defined by feelings of uneasiness, worry, and fear. Depression, persistent feelings of sadness, worthlessness, and a lack of desire to engage in formerly enjoyed activities.
I have anxiety. It feels like every cell in my body is moving so fast that my veins are blurry. That despite the constant metronome of my heartbeat inside my ears, it's like listening to a spastic drumline. It feels like bees in my ears, like a broken white noise machine playing all of the sounds at once. And I don't even realize I'm gritting my teeth or cracking my knuckles or rubbing my forefinger against my pinky or twisting the gold band on my middle finger, holding onto myself like I'm the only lifeline bridging the gap between reality on my own 2 feet and the atomically loud abyss of noises and sounds and feelings of fleeting.
75% of people with social anxiety, it began when they were between 8 and 15 years old. Someone with social anxiety disorder often knows that his or her fears are unreasonable and that other people don't feel the same way. This can make him or her feel alone and think that no one else can understand how he or she feels, which can lead to feelings of loneliness or sadness. Social anxiety cannot occur unless events, situations, or circumstances in the person's environment push or lead the person to develop it. Divorce and other family issues can add extra stress to a person, especially at such a young age. As time goes on and the issue progresses, a child may develop an anxiety disorder. Another factor to anxiety are competitive sports. If a parent or a coach is overly competitive, they may act out on a child. From a young age, young athletes are dealing with the pressures of being successful and making it.
You have to be at a team lift at 6 a.m., but you're accidentally 1 minute late because you slept through your alarm. Your heart's pounding from sprinting to the gym, but nobody cares that it's because you were up until 2 a.m. studying for an exam that you still don't feel prepared for. You can feel the tension between you and your teammates who now have to run sprints tomorrow at 6 a.m. because you were 1 minute late. You start the lift, and your mind's just not in the right place, but it doesn't matter. You have to lift. And as soon as it's over, you scarf down breakfast on your way to 8 a.m. class, and you get there, and your hair's still wet because you didn't have time to dry it. The professor looks at you and says, "Where's the homework assignment?" But you forgot it. How could you forget it? You were supposed to be on top of everything, so you sit there and you worry about what else you might have forgot. And at noon, you get a 30-minute break, but it's not really a break because you use it to quickly make up an assignment you missed for last week's game. And soon, it's 12:10, and to you, 40 minutes does not feel like enough time to get on the court and be ready, even though it actually is. So you head over, and at 1, practice is starting. And you have to forget everything that happened in your day, because at practice, you have to perform. You can't not perform. There's someone better than you, someone competing with you, and someone in high school who just committed to be you. So forget the 0 on your assignment. Forget the test you're not prepared for. Forget the friends you haven't seen in weeks. Forget the argument you've been in with your parent. Play well, pass well, perform. And when it's finally over, you find yourself staring in the locker room mirror, trying not to cry. And you ask yourself, is this how I'm supposed to feel?
Student athletes are also under pressure of balancing their education and sports. Teachers believe that students should put their class before anything else, while coaches expect that the athletes make sports their #1 priority. School expectations are also a very big contributor to anxiety because kids are not only being overwhelmed with schoolwork, they're being forced from a young age to choose what they want to do with their life and decide the best way to get themselves there. A major factor in today's anxiety epidemic is social media. Young girls and boys are being exposed constantly to the ideal life and the ideal body and believe that people are always living such glamorous lives. But in reality, many are masters at the art of Photoshop and Facetune and make themselves look inhuman. This raises the bar for children as they grow up with the pressures of trying to reach this unrealistic expectation. TV shows and movies are also romanticizing suicide to show the attention and love that is shown towards the victims after they're gone. While it is great that they're trying to bring attention to this topic and spread awareness, the filmmakers depict these events as a little too glamorous, leading to copycat suicides. Generalized anxiety disorder, or GAD, rarely starts before adolescence, although some children who later develop the disorder have always been perceived as overly anxious.
Difference in your students from when you started teaching versus now? Well, I started teaching close to about 20 years ago, and I think there's a big difference. There's a lot more diagnosis that I get from counselors that will say this student has an anxiety problem, this student might be contemplating ending their life. We get some of those. This student has been depressed about a situation going on, and so it's highly concerning. Teachers talk about it with each other that we feel like every year there's more of those, maybe from a couple to 6 or 7 per class.
An estimated 2.2% of adolescents had generalized anxiety disorder in 2001-2004 worldwide. Since then, rates have risen 10%. 25% of all teens and 30% of all teen girls have GAD. An estimated 3.1 million adolescents aged 12 to 17 in the United States have had at least one major depressive episode in 2016. This number represents 12.8% of the U.S. population in that age group. And within that, 2.2 million American adolescents in the same age had at least one major depressive episode with severe impairment. 4% of preschool-aged children, 5% of school-aged children, and 11% of adolescents meet the criteria for major depression. Suicide is a preventable death, one that 90% of the time is the result of an undiagnosed or untreated depressive disorder. Suicide is the second leading cause of death in adolescents aged 15 to 24, and is the third leading cause of death in children of ages 10 to 14. Not everyone is taking the rise of anxiety and depression rates as seriously as we should. The idea that they just want attention, they're just worried, and that anxiety is no big deal are common ideas. Many argue that anxiety is a normal part of human life and that it's part of the fight or flight response designed to help you escape dangerous situations and to help keep you alive. Although anxiety is uncomfortable, it's tolerable, and our culture teaches us that anxiety is bad, and many people believe that anxiety is much more horrible than it is. Individuals with an anxiety disorder are afflicted with self-absorption not because they're selfish or insensitive to others, but because they're locked into bothersome, repetitive thought processes reflecting fears both about their personal adequacy and how others might see them. People with depression dwell constantly on self-recriminations about how stupid, ugly, and worthless they are. There is a continual critical internal voice tearing the person down, questioning every move, second-guessing every decision. This inconsistent negative internal dialogue fills the sufferer with intense shame. Yes, there may be some people who mistake a normal healthy amount of anxiety felt before a presentation with anxiety disorder or pretend that they have it for attention. However, anxiety disorder is a growing mental health issue that is rapidly spread across the nation's adolescents. Some anxiety medicines and treatments are benzodiazepine, which are pills that may leave you feeling calm and relaxed, such as Xans, antidepressants, which can treat anxiety and depression, an example is Prozac, serotonin enhancers, and emotional freedom technique, which is a way to cope with anxiety such as acupuncture. Ways to treat depression are psychotherapy, integrative therapies, and medications like selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. These increase the amount of the neurochemical serotonin in your brain. An example of the medication is Paxil. Other forms of treatment are dual-action antidepressants. These are newer antidepressant drugs that have big effects on both of the neurological systems. These drugs are for the more severe and chronic cases of depression. Mood stabilizers, which treat bipolar depression and are sometimes used for off-label for some forms of anxiety and depression. Finally, tricyclic antidepressants. These increase the level of norepinephrine in the brain. The longer the anxiety and depression goes untreated, the weaker the brain gets and results in less defense the person has against the anxiety.
About 80% of people, teens struggling with mental health are not getting treatment. So there's still a huge stigma around therapy, around even talking to your primary doctor about mental health issues. So I think it's just awesome that students like you are doing projects on such an important topic, because the more that we're able to talk more openly about mental health, the more likely people are going to feel more okay getting help.
It's time to start paying attention to these kids and recognize that they have a problem. Take off the pressure and the unrealistic expectations. Let children know that if they need psychiatric help, they can get it. If parents, adults, and other adolescents do not make this change, lives all across the nation will be broken and result into one ending their life. Make a change, say a word, save a life.